Okay, we're going to make a video on how to put some charts onto your web page using JavaScript, right? So adding charts to a web page using JavaScript. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to start off with a web page. So let's go File, New, all right? And as per usual, I'm going to do a Save As and Save as HTML. Let's go to the desktop and let's call this charts.html just for the purpose of saving it. Save it as charts. Now, as per usual, doc type, close my bracket, there we go. We're going to start with HTML. Now, we're going to do a little bit of style in this one. We haven't been doing style, but we are going to do some style in this one. So I'm going to do head. Inside the head, I need to have a title. Underneath the title, but also in the head, I'm going to put some style in here. We're not using style sheets, we're just going to do it in here. Okay, so a bit of style in there. In our section below the head, we're going to have body. And of course, inside our body somewhere, we're going to have some script. Okay, so I've set up my main tags, okay, and I just put a couple of lines space in between them, just so that I can get started, so I can get things going. What else should I put in there? Do I need a heading? No, I don't think I need a heading. Let's call this first one bar chart. Okay, so my title that's going to come up on my screen is going to be bar chart. I could put a heading in the body as well. I've been doing that as a sort of a good practice. So this is going to be my bar chart, and I'm going to have a bar chart in this section of the video. So that's going to be my heading, my bar chart. And what am I going to do now? Before I get into the style section, let's talk about how we're going to create this graph. The idea of this is we're going to put a bar chart on the screen, and then we're going to change it and make it a pie chart, right? So the first thing I want to do is I want to be able to have a little canvas where I can put my information. It's like a blank canvas to put the chart onto. And I don't just mean a blank web page, it kind of needs to be a canvas, right? So we use the word canvas. And we start this canvas in here, and we're going to give it an ID, and the ID we're going to call it my chart. Okay, in fact, let's give that a capital C, my chart. Close that, and then let's close the canvas. And then we need to close that canvas bracket. So let's go backslash canvas. Okay, now that's what we're going to do. So I've created in here. Oh, it's because I put it inside my script section. I didn't mean to put it in there. That's why it didn't come up. I need to put it there. Right, so canvas in here is going to be the tag that I'm going to use, and it's going to be a blank canvas where I can put some information. And I'm going to set the height and the width and the things of this canvas in just a minute, but that's where I'm going to do it. Now, because I want to set the height and the width, because I want to make this canvas a specific size, if I put the height and the width using this ID in my style sheets, that can sometimes get overwritten by the program that actually makes the graph. So what I do is actually I just put in a div here. So I'm just going to call this div, and I'm going to give my div an ID, and I'm going to call the ID of my div. I'm going to call it something really interesting, my div. Okay, so I'm just going to call that my div. Close that bracket. I'm going to grab the other end of it, Command X, and I'm going to paste it there. So essentially what I've done is I've created this little division on the page where I've put a canvas, right? And the division, I'm calling it my div, and the canvas I'm calling my chart. Now, my div, I want to give that an exact style. I want that to be a specific size. So I go up here into the style sheets, and we've done some style sheets before, and I'm going to put hash my div. Now it's a hash because we're using an ID down here, so it's hash my div. Put in some curly brackets. Whoops, wrong button. Oh, escape out of that. Curly brackets in here. There we go. And what I'm going to do in here is I'm going to set a width. And I'm going to set my width to 400 pixels, semicolon. And I'm going to set a height. Let's make it a square. Let's make it 400 pixels. And that's it. That's all I want to do. So I'm going to have this div invisible box. Think of a div that way. It's an invisible box that holds everything in the right place, right? And it's going to have an invisible box which is 400 pixels by 400 pixels. And then inside that invisible box, I'm going to have a chart. My chart's going to be placed in there, and it's going to have the ID of my chart. Right, now we need to get to the script section. Now there's a specific line of code that we use to get charts on a web page, right? It's a JavaScript delivery of the chart system. It's like getting a library in Python and loading in the library, right? So script, and the script is going to have a source, src, src, that means source, and the source for this is a web link. Now I'm going to get this web link and I'm going to put it on here. You can use this, it's free for everyone to use, and it says cdn.jsdeliver.net, and this allows us to make tables or charts essentially on our web page /chart. So you don't have to rewrite a whole pile of JavaScript. This has already been done for you. So if you copy that line of code is a little script that's going to run, that's going to say, go to this source and find this little bit of JavaScript, and we're going to use that, chart.js, we're going to use that to make some charts, okay? So that's the first section of the script. That's what we're going to do. Now let's get down to our own script. So this one here is essentially an imported library that we're going to use. This is going to be our own script that we're going to use. And let's set up a variable, and we'll call this chart area, and we're going to equal to the document.getElementById, and the ID that we're going to use is the one that we've already set up, my chart. Okay, so essentially what this saying is, we're going to create a variable called chart area. This is the area we're going to put our chart into. We're going to go to the document. We're going to find the area on our web page that is called my chart, which happens to be just up here. We're going to find that, and we're putting all of that into a variable called chart area. Okay, so that's the first thing we're going to do. Okay, then we're going to go down and we're going to say, let's create a new chart inside the chart area. And what do we want it to do? Let's give it some curly brackets, and let's talk about what type of chart we're going to do. So essentially this is saying, let's make a new chart. Let's make our new chart inside the chart area, which up here we found out the chart area is inside this area, which is a bit of canvas, which we've put inside a div. So it's like inside, 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 but that's going to work. Right, so a new chart, let's make our type of chart. Okay, now type of chart, we said it's going to be a bar chart. Right, so let's just, is capital B? Oh, no, I think it's right. I think it's lowercase. Bar chart, comma. What other information are we going to put in here? Let's put in what sort of data we're going to put into this video, into this file, right? So let's go to here. Let's put data, colon, and let's put some curly brackets in here to say what sort of data are we going to put in. We're going to put in some labels for our chart. Labels, colon. Let's give an array of labels. In fact, if we're doing an array, let's just do square brackets. Bang, bang. I'll explain all of this in just a moment, so you know what I'm doing. Okay, let's call that apples, bananas, oranges. And so they're going to be our labels, so we need to also have some data to go with that. So let's go, and this is all still inside your main, so this is the main data section here. Still inside that, we're going to have a data set. And let's do an array again, and we put some curly brackets in here, and we're going to have, let me think, a main label. And that main label we'll call fruit count. Let's put a comma after that, and then let's put what is the data. This is what we've been trying to get to, is this data section. Square brackets, 10, 5, 8, so for example. Right, so now let's just check we've got the right closed brackets. We close that curly, we close that one, we close that next one. We close that next one. We need a semicolon at the end there, and then we should have closed our script. Okay, so now let's go through and explain all of this. So I've already explained where we're going to place it. Now we're going to create a new chart. The type of chart that we're going to create is going to be a bar chart. And essentially we're sending this information to this library, and this library says, okay, I recognize the word bar, we're going to make a bar chart. The data we're going to use for this bar chart, we're going to have 3 labels. The labels are going to be apples, oranges, and bananas. Now, because we've got 3 labels here, we need to have 3 pieces of data down here that align with these 3 labels, right? So we've got 10, 5, and 8. But we also want to have a heading on our graph, because most graphs are better if they've got a heading on them. So we're putting a label in there as well, right? So the label is going to be fruit count, and then these 3 bits of data align with these 3 labels here, which all come under the heading of data, which is all sent up here to the creating a new chart. Make sure that all your brackets close correctly based on each of the brackets that we've got. So these 2 close these 2. This one closes this one. That one obviously closes that one there. And then these 2 here close the whole new chart section, right? There was an open bracket there, then there was a curly. So then we've got a curly and then an open bracket, a closed bracket there, right? So that should be it. That should be our whole script. Now, it's good that you know how this works, but you don't need to remember all of this. As I've said in other videos, you're not expected to know all of this JavaScript straight away. You're supposed to do some research, look it up, work out how to do it, run these bits of code. Like, I definitely don't know that web address. I had to look that web address up to make sure that I knew it, right? So you need to look these things up. But once you've done 3 or 4 times, you kind of get used to it, and you can copy and paste code from other places. So anyway, that's it. That's our bar chart. So if I go File, Save, so I've saved my file. I'm going to double click it on my desktop and I'm going to run it. Charts, bring it over here so you can see it. And it says my bar chart, and guess what? It hasn't worked. So we need to check something. I've made some sort of mistake in here, so let's go back and check it. Okay, so it's all right having errors. Well, I've said that before. We need to go through and find our errors, and sometimes that problem solving teaches you something, all right? So the style, let's have a look. My div. 1 semicolon there, none there, that's correct. The style is correct. I don't really need that space, so I would delete that space. Separate that, there's our head, that's correct. Body, my bar chart. My div, right, my div, that's the same. My chart, which should be down here, my chart, that's the same. My line of code is correct there. Now my chart area, capital C, lowercase c, capital A, lowercase c, capital A, that's correct. My type is a bar. My data is all of this. My labels are that. My data sets, this should be an S, plural. Data sets, it should be plural, it shouldn't be singular, right? Data sets. So that's probably my problem. Everything else seems to close right. Script, I haven't got any red errors down here. So I'm going to go through and run that, save it first, and then I'm going to run it. So double click my file, and this is what I get on my screen. My bar chart, here's my heading, fruit counter. Here are my 3 labels here, my 3 apples, bananas and oranges, and here's my count. That goes up to 10, that goes up to 5, and that goes up to 8. So there's my bar chart. So that's it. That's how simple it is to make a bar chart. You follow this code along, and you can do that. Now, let's be a bit clever about this. Let's make it a pie chart. So I'm just going to go here and change the heading to my pie chart. I'm going to go down here and change the type of chart to a pie chart. I'm not going to change anything else. That's it. They're the only things I'm going to change. I hit save, and if I hit refresh here, now I've got a pie chart, right? So it's that simple. Once you import this chart making program, this line of code here, then it's really as simple as just changing what sort of chart do you want. I wonder if it works for line. Let's have a quick look on line. Let's change this to line, and let's see if that works. I'm not sure about that, but yeah, line chart works as well, right? So it's really a matter of typing what type of chart you want in here. I'm going to go back to bar. I'm going to go back to bar here, and that'll give you a chart on your web page. Now, one of the beauties of putting this in a div is you can move that div around. You can put that in different places. Because I've done it here, I've just put the div in the top left-hand corner of the screen. That's where the div is, right? But you can move that because that division can be placed somewhere else in the screen. So that's kind of a little bit of an advantage here. And to do that, you'd put in some styling in here saying where you want the div, right? So that's it. That's the end of this video, using JavaScript to create charts on a web page.